Hey guys, this is Andrew Eddy with Funnel Hacks. In today's video, we are going to be looking at a very common problem in ClickFunnels. It's one of the most common questions I get, and that is, how do I align content vertically between two columns? And so it's very typical in ClickFunnels that we have a layout that looks something like this. We have a single row divided into two equal columns, and we have an image on the left and then a headline, some paragraph text, and a button on the right. And the question is, how do we get this to line up and look good both on mobile and on desktop? And unfortunately, the way most designers do this, and the way I'm going to show you right now, is the wrong way. So what we typically see is we have the top element. We'll go into settings, and we will create a top margin to push the content down. So as we drag the top margin up, the content gets pushed down, and we can't even drag it far enough. So we'll have to type in manually 140 pixels, and that looks a little more centered. And what we'll do is we'll save it, and if we refresh our page, we now have centered content, and it looks a lot better. Unfortunately, this is a very bad way of doing things, because as we start to drag our page in, what will happen is the image will get smaller because the image is running out of screen space and it's mobile responsive, so it's going to adjust. But because it's adjusting and getting smaller, our content is no longer in alignment because we have this top margin and it starts to look really, really bad, right? And the other problem is that once we get to mobile, right, and we scroll all the way in, we've got a larger space here because that margin is still being applied even though we don't necessarily want that much space. And so what we typically do next is we will duplicate this section and we'll create a mobile version and we'll get rid of that. Well, I'm going to give you a single piece of code to solve this problem for all of your rows. It will save you a ton of time and it does an amazing job. So what we're going to do is let's go back into this headline. Let's get rid of the margin here. So we're going to take that back down to 0, and we're just going to copy one very simple line of code. Let's go back into our settings, custom CSS. Let's paste this in. Now, one thing that we need to do is we need to grab our row ID to apply it to this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our row, hover over the blue box. Let's grab our row, and we're just going to simply paste this in. Now, all we're doing is we are defining this row as a flex box, and we're centering it vertically. But what's going to happen is our content now is automatically going to center itself based on this image. And if we save this and we refresh, what's amazing is that as we drag in now, and as our image resizes, our content is going to stay completely and perfectly centered as it adjusts. So it's not going to have a weird top space. We do not need to duplicate the section in order to make it look good. And this is going to be one of your best friends. Feel free to use this code to center your elements vertically on all of your rows, sections, and columns. Thanks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.